first thing first is we should work on the home page. Let's actually just get like our routes figured out. Like, what is the structure of our app? What are the routes going to look like? You know, how are you navigating to places and things like that? So let's build out our routes. That's kind of like where I like to start. And then from there, what I like to do is just go from like page to page. Sometimes I might get sidetracked where I'm like, oh, this page has a feature and that feature like touches so many parts of the app. So you got to go build those things out. So like, I guess it's like a depth first approach to building an app. I'll go to a page and then I'll drill down, you know, on every single feature into that page before I go to the next page. And I'll drill down on every feature on that page before I go to the next page. That way I'm not, you know, switching back and forth between different features. And, you know, I don't want to leave anything in an incomplete state. So that's kind of how I work when I'm working solo. So that's what we'll probably do today. So yeah, let's get that structure going. So we know, you know, like I said, I have the reference here on GitHub. We can just kind of take a look at all the routes that we have. There's actually really not that much. So few routes here. We obviously have our index page, which is just going to be page.tsx. That's going to be our home page. So we'll be putting some stuff in there. And then we have these 5 other folders. So this first folder it's dashboard. But if you know that if you put parentheses around a folder in Next.js app router, that this doesn't get added to the segment in the route. So this won't actually be a new route. It's just a way for me to group pages together that have similar UI. So we need to make that. We have our API. We'll talk about that some other time. We got this new user thing here, and this is actually just like a hack around authentication. We'll talk about that later. And then we also have these 2 catch-all routes for sign in and sign up that we'll also use for authentication. So we'll just pretty much go in and make these right quick. So let's do that. So over here in my directory, I'll make a new folder, dashboard, with parentheses in it. So we have that. And then next to that, I'm just going to add my API. And another folder, we're going to have new-user. And another one will be sign-up. And another one would be sign-in. Not a file, but a folder. Cool. So we have all of our folders here. They don't really do anything until we add a page.tsx to them. So we can't really route to them right now, but just so you can like visualize what's happening here. For now, let's just work on the home page. It's pretty simple, just some design here. And then we'll move on to actually, you know, doing the dashboard, getting user authentication and stuff like that. So you can just think of this as our warm up, just getting our fingers ready on these components. So this one's not too crazy. In fact, it doesn't even have a lot of functionality, but let's do it. So basically for this one, just want to add a class name here, and we're going to be using Tailwind. So I'm just going to make this page full screen, vertically and horizontally. So I can just say width screen and height screen like that. That's the same thing as saying width is 100% VW, view width, and height is 100 VH, which is view height. It's the same thing. So we got that. I'm just gonna put a background of black, want a dark theme there. And yeah, we'll start from that. And then what I'll do is I'm actually just gonna make this a flex. So I'll say flex, and then I'll say justify, center, and then items, which is a line, items, center, like that. And I'll just add a div for our content. So inside our content, we'll just have an H1 here. For this is where our title will go. And this we'll have a paragraph here. This is where our description will go. And then we'll have another div here with a button in it. And this is where our button will go. Other thing we want to do is just make sure the text is white, like that. Otherwise, it'll be black and we won't be able to see the text. So, cool. So let's go check this out. Wherever I put this, there we go. It's exactly what I wanted it to be, centered in the middle of the screen. Pretty easy. Let's make this title bigger, so I can say class name give it a text of, I don't know, 5XL. So that's huge. Actually, that's not even as huge as I thought it was going to be. So I'm going to make it even bigger. Yeah, 6XL for our title. And I'll say the best journal app for hardcore. No, just the best journal app, period. We could have just used ChatGPT to make this for us. That's honestly, that's what we should have did, but we're going to save the AI stuff for later. So best journal app, period. And then for the description, this is the best app for tracking your mood throughout your life. All you have to do is be honest. There you go. Cool, so we got that. We'll make that a little bigger. So class name, maybe make that like a text of like 2XL. That's good. And then make this one not as bright. So we can say like text and then like white. And then we can do slash here for opacity. And I could make it a little, let's try 60. So that's 0.6 or 60%. There we go. The other thing we can do is that I don't like how far left and right these things go. So what I'll do is you can put a container on it, but the containers already has set max widths, and then you got to go modify the Tailwind config to do that. It's a little sloppy. So I'm just going to do my own container and just do a max width. So on this div that contains the content, I'll add a class name here, and I'll say width is full, so 100%, but I'll put a max width. And I'll just pick a random number, right? I'll just say, let's say a max width of 600 pixels. So when you put a square bracket around a value like this in a Tailwind class, this means I want to add a custom value instead of some hard-coded value. So I can put whatever value I want here. And then just to make sure it stays centered, you can just say MX auto, which just stands for margin left, margin right, auto. So it stays centered. And we'll do that, and there we go. Cool. Other thing is I don't like how they're touching, so put some margin bottom on these. A margin bottom of 4 on that, another margin bottom on the paragraph of 4, so they're not touching. There we go. And then for the button, we'll just make a little button right quick. We can just call this a background of blue, 600, like that. And we can add some padding of 4. And then we can say we want it to be rounded corners. Let's make it a rounded large. And then we'll say font or text large, actually text extra large. There we go. And actually I'm gonna change the padding from 4 to PX4 and then PY of 2. There we go, much better. And now you got a button. Cool. Only other thing we need to do is just make this button go somewhere when you click something. So let's do that. So I'll wrap this button in a link tag. So if I bring in the link tag from next link, like so, mine just auto imported. If you're wondering why I didn't go import it, because it just did it for me, but it's from next link. You've probably used it before if you use Next.js. And then all you have to do is just add an href here, and then the path you want to go to. In this case, when someone clicks get started, we want them to go to /journal, which we haven't made yet. So obviously it'll 404 if we click on it. And that's it. And we just made, an award-winning landing page. So now if we click that, it goes to journal, we get a 404. Cool. It's the light work with the Tailwind and the React. Okay.